back with our reading fanfiction. This time we're going back to Five Nights at Harry's, which is written by uh Harry Letverts. Uh, so they wrote this. I have nothing to do with this. This is their work. So uh, anyway, we're on chapter 5, and I believe at the end of chapter 4, um, we were introduced to a new character called Michelle. She had her car had broken down, so she went into the restaurant, the pizzeria, found Harry, asked for a phone, and he brought it to the office. Unfortunately, she ended up seeing Chica and Foxy and fainted. Uh, Chica, and I think maybe Foxy as well, mistook Michelle for um, Harry's girlfriend. Also, interesting to note, Michelle's last name happens to be Smith. Does that sound familiar? It should. Anyway, let's get started on chapter 5. And as always, with all these fanfic videos, if you want to follow along, link to the chapter will be in the description as always. And of course, you can keep reading if you want. So, after we're done. But let's get started with chapter 5. All around Michelle, there was darkness before a pungent odor, I think that's supposed to be odor, caused her to jerk as she slowly awoke. I had the strangest dream. A male voice spoke up, and she could detect a bit of amusement. A strange dream, huh? Slowly she nodded, as she blinked her eyes. Yeah, I dreamt that I was at the pizzeria that my dad worked before I was born, where there were these animatronics who would stuff people they caught after hours into suits, killing said people in the process. Finally, she opened her eyes, and she could see clearly, as in front of her was the guard who led her inside, with four animatronics right behind him. Uh, uh, that wasn't her dream. Her figure came up as a squeak, not so too different from a frightened mouse, escaped her mouth as she pointed at them. It caused Harry to rub the back of his neck. Yeah, they're real. Still, afraid out of her mind, Michelle calmed down a little bit. Uh, shouldn't they be, trying to kill us? To her surprise, though, they all flinched before Freddie made a noise, as if he had cleared his throat. While that may have been true as late as at the beginning of the summer, it no longer is. He then clapped one large hand onto Harry's shoulders. My friend here took care of that particular issue rather permanently. Beside him, Bonnie nodded as he nervously rubbed his hands against each other. Yeah, we really don't have that issue anymore. Unsure, the young woman looked at each one. Go. So, you're not going to think I'm endoskeleton and then stuff me into a suit? At their heads shaking, she continued as the tension bled from her. And I'm not in danger? Foxy just rolled his eyes and gestured to Harry with his hook. Not unless you'd be a danger to us or Harry here. Arg. By this point, the fright had almost completely vanished from her as she slowly examined the animatronics in front of her, part of her mind going back to the stories that her father had told her. Oh. A cough drew her attention as Harry gave her a raised eyebrow. How are you feeling? With a frown, she looked herself over and tested the different parts of her body, where she nodded. Everything seems to be fine. Michelle looked up, though, as Harry asked her who her father was. Hmm? Oh, his name was Michael Smith. He worked here for a few weeks as a night watchman during 1978, I think. It was the year I was born. Now frowning, the animatronics became thoughtful as they thought back. Word of warning, there will be swearing because Michael in this story is a crazy maniac. So, just a warning, I guess. Bonnie couldn't hear anything in the office, which meant that the guard was probably cowering, possibly gone. Please be gone, mister. Please be gone. Against his will, the marionette forced his body to step inside the door. A moment later, he stumbled back as a folding chair smashed into his face. Fuck off, you fucking waste of fur! A moment later, the door slammed shut. Foxy was rushing down the hallway as fast as he could, when he suddenly stepped on a bunch of marbles that had been painted black. Gah! He skidded down the hallway trying to get some traction, right until he slammed into an arm that stuck out of the office, which caused the animatronic to go flying. The guard, whose arm was stuck his head out of the office and looked at the fox, where it twitched before he laughed. Stupid fucking fox! Then he blinked and stuck his head back into the office as Chica, who'd been rushing to help Foxy, hit the marble and went flying. Screech! Once more, the grinning guard poked his head out. He then ducked back into the room and closed the door. Ugh. I don't know if I like this, Michael. Now that I'm reading this aloud, I don't know. Part of me, I'm wondering if Ruby would like this one, cause like he seems to like pranks, but the way he treats the animatronics and the fact that he called Foxy stupid and Foxy's Ruby's favorite, I don't know if she'd like him. It'd be like she likes the pranks, like the marbles, pretty good, but I don't know if she likes the insults. Like she's more playful. She was more playful. This guy's like more harsh. Like it's war, and doesn't mind if they get hurt. So yeah, I'm like Ruby with this. I'll be with Ruby on that one. Like I'm not sure how I feel about him, especially since it seems like in this story the animatronics are like okay again. Anyway, let's get back into this. Ray sighed and took a step forward, only to trip as someone had a change around on his ankle, which sent him tumbling off the stage. A moment later, laughter echoed through the building as the camera focused on him. How do you like that, fuck bear? With a blink, they all turned to Michelle and replied in the same deadpan voice. We remember him. I think I sounded a little creepier than it was. But she just shrugged as she rubbed the back of her neck. Yeah, that is rather, admirable for people. The young woman then lifted a finger. He's an awesome dad, though. As he chuckled, Harry slowly nodded as he smiled. Oh, no doubt about that. It was then that a gurgling noise could be heard that stopped everyone. A moment later, they all turned towards the sheepish Michelle, who had a hand placed on her stomach. uh, sorry about that. She flinched a little as Bonnie leaned in. When was the last time you ate? That you ate? Once more, Michelle's stomach could be heard to growl before she sighed and hung her head. This afternoon, I guess. Got caught up in studying and left the university late. And you know what happened next. However, the young woman blinked as a hand was held out to her, and she looked up to see a smiling Harry. Chico's got some fresh pizza ready if you want a slice or two. She is a good cook after all. Suddenly, Chico smacked him in the shoulder, which sent him stumbling forward as the light in her cheeks came on. Oh, stop, Harry! You're embarrassing me! She blinked, though, and she heard a squeak. Noticed that Harry had fallen right into Michelle's chest. Oh dear. What are you doing there? Red faced, Harry scrambled off an equally flushed Michelle and coughed. You forgot your own strength again, Chica. He then turned back to Michelle and rubbed the back of his neck. Sorry about that. Though still embarrassed, a smile blew on Michelle's face before she waved him off. No harm done. Then a frown crossed her face. About that pizza. Are you sure? I mean, I don't want you to get in trouble or anything to be caught on cameras. The last thing that she expected, though, was for him to snort. The cameras are all live and have no recording at all unless it's during the day when the other employees are here. For rather obvious reasons, considering the placement of some of them. A wince was shared before Harry reached out with a hand, so no worries about getting caught with having a pizza. A final growl came from Michelle's stomach before she grasped his hand and let him help her to her feet. Sounds good. Both of them stopped as they heard a snicker and turned to see a grinning Foxy watching them. Aye, sounds like a date then. That sounds Scottish. Whoops. Arr. Harry and Michelle up in a tree. Kiss. How? As he rubbed his head where Freddy had smacked him in the back of the head, Harry nodded. Thanks, Freddy. Beside him, Michelle giggled as the two animatronics got into a small verbal spat. Then, a thoughtful expression crossed her face before she looked towards Harry. Of course, it was then that she noticed that they were still holding hands before she cleared her throat to catch Harry's attention. Having done that, she gestured with her head at her hands, which he let go with a sheepish smile. Sorry about that. Another giggle escaped her before she shook her head. Don't worry about it. Michelle then hummed as they slowly walked out of the office. The animatronics following as the storm outside continued to unabated. So, mind telling me some stories about them? Ron sighed as he flopped back onto the bed. Can you stop pacing, Hermione? It's not helping any. The witch sighed before she stopped and sat down onto a bed with a groan. I'm just really worried over what's going on and what Sirius told us. Both teens winced at that while Ginny huffed for which she sat on an armchair. I don't see why you're so surprised that Harry told them that he hoped that he wouldn't see either of you until September 1st. If I was him, I would be rather pissed off as well. The scowl crossed over Hermione's face as she turned towards the red-headed witch. We were told by the headmaster and the others that we weren't allowed to talk with Harry. He needed some space to get over what happened. Yeah, don't listen to Dumbledore. Grown-ups don't know everything, so yeah, you're his friend. I figured he would need someone during the time. So sorry, I'm ranting. Let's get on back. Rolling her eyes, our sarcasm dropped from Ginny's tone of voice. Yeah, great idea, but, turned out rather perfectly. Now, didn't it? With a sigh, Hermione deflated some. We screwed up. A few tears came to her eyes, though she tried to stop them. And now I might have screwed up one of the first and strongest friendships that I have ever had. Now frowning herself, Jane walked over and pulled the slightly distraught witch into an embrace. Hey, it's not that bad, Still at the bed, Ron shrugged. Yeah, Harry will forgive us. All we have to do is see him and talk to him face to face and explain ourselves. While she scowled, Hermione turned towards him and suddenly stopped. Wait, go back? Say that again? Raising one of his eyebrows, Ron frowned. What, about him forgiving us? Hermione shook her head as her eyes sparkled. No, about talking to Harry face to face. If we try to explain ourselves by doing that, and soon, maybe we can save our friendship. There was a moment of silence before Ginny raised a finger. A few problems, not the least of which is actually getting to private drive for the drive, considering that with all the adults around, we won't get past them. And there is actually getting there. However, I just shook her head. Look, we do it at night since we already know where Harry is, and no one will really be watching. I even know how to get outside since I found an old servant's entrance just the other day. Michelle giggled as she watched the animatronics dancing to the music before she took another bite of her slice. After all the stories that my dad told me, I still can hardly believe what I'm seeing. Animatronics dancing and laughing with one of them. Animatronics dancing and laughing with one of them being able to make good pizza. It's like some sort of strange dream. Taking a bite from his own pizza, Harry nodded. Yeah, and I count each and every one of them as close friends. With a frown, Michelle turned at him closely and he raised an eyebrow at her. Then her frown became thoughtful as she leaned against her hand and watched him. You really do care for them deeply, don't you? As he sighed, Harry leaned back some and glanced at her. Yeah, I really do. And I'm about the only one who does. Just as she was about to say something, Harry continued. And I'm not just saying that because my aunt is one of them. Having realized what he just said, Harry faced him. I should not have said anything about that. Her eyes narrowed. Michelle stared at him. What do you mean by that? She trailed off as suddenly something skipped her mind, and she turned to stare at the animatronics who had not heard the quiet conversation over their own. The music of the stereo and the story. They act like kids. And Dad always figured that the kids had been. Her eyes now wide. She looked at Harry. The animatronics. It's not just AI for them, is it? They're the kids that got murdered. While he rubbed his face, Harry slowly nodded. Yeah. Long story short, when the kids got murdered, they were stuffed into the suits. Something had manipulated the day guard at the time to do so, and then controlled them like puppets to do its bidding, which you can likely guess from both your father's story and what you're seeing. A moment later, after she had searched his face for any lie, Michelle slumped back. She was trying to create more likely for some reason. Even though it wasn't needed to confirm it, Harry nodded his head. Yeah, pretty sure that it never actually worked again, except for the kids. Just don't ask them about what happened, okay? As she placed a strand of hair behind her ear, Michelle nodded. No worries about that. She frowned a little before she spoke. You know, I'm here in England getting an education because I hope to one day become a teacher. How that I really get along with kids and like helping them learn things since I started to tutor some when I was in high school. A small tear dripped from her eyes before she sighed. And knowing this, I pity them. Making sure that the animatronics were not watching, Harry shook his head. Maybe, but they're happy now, and that's what is important. That's what's important to say the least. However, Michelle frowned a bit. Yeah, but for how long? See, look, she gave him a raised eyebrow. Well, I didn't know that this was the spot when I came to England. I did some research and found out that they're closing their doors this year for good. Probably no later than November. While he coughed into his hand, Harry whispered to her, let's just say I have a plan for that and leave it there. Hmm? Though she was curious, Michelle just nodded. A moment later, though, Chica came rushing up to them and grinned. Yes, Chica? With a giggle, she pulled Harry to his feet and dragged him out to the dance floor. Don't just sit there. This is a party, so you should dance. Despite not really knowing her, Michelle soon met the same fate as Bonnie dragged her out, and a few moments later had her laughing as she danced. Minutes passed before she bumped into Harry. Okay, this is officially not just the weirdest late night party, but also one of the most fun. Harry just grinned as he nodded. Tell me about it. Then Michelle squealed with joy as Harry lifted her up a bit and then set her down, only for Freddie to take her hand as he did his best balloon dancing impression. Have fun! A few hours passed before Michelle saw something and looked up at the roof. Uh-huh. Sounds like the storm's over. After a moment, she walked over to Harry and tapped him on the shoulder. Hey, this is fun and all, but I think that my friends might show up soon. So, before Harry could answer, though, the animatronic stopped dancing before Bonnie walked forward with a sound and expression. Does that mean leaving then? At her nod, he sighed and hung his head, as did the others. Oh. Bonnie was surprised, though, when he felt a hand on his shoulder, and saw her smiling. She looked at him. Hey, we're friends now, right? Slowly, the rabbit nodded, and the woman smiled wider. Friends don't leave forever, so expect me back. She winked at him. Okay? Now cheered up. He nodded. I will! As she chuckled, Michelle hugged each one before her and Harry left for the front door, where the night returned to her. Thanks for that. Tell me you can call 9 now for who knows how long. All Michelle did was snort as she waved him off. No prob. Besides, I wasn't lying when I said that I would be back. She then threw an arm over Harry's shoulders. And they're not the only ones to get new friends. It was then that they reached the doors in time for two people to walk up and peer in. Harry waved his flashlight towards them, and Michelle smiled before she opened the door. Lisa, Erica, you're here. One of them grinned as she popped some bubble gum in her mouth. Of course we are. What, did you think that we would leave you stranded? She then winked at Harry. Granted, stranded with a cutie in a uniform is not the worst thing that could happen. While she facepalmed, Michelle sighed. Do you mind, Erica? A laugh escaped Lisa as she shook her head. Anyways, we should get going in case the storm starts up again. The young woman turned to Harry and gave him a smile. Thanks for looking after our friend and not leaving her outside. With a sheepish grin, Harry rubbed the back of his neck. I noticed Harry does that quite a bit. Must be a nervous tick. Oh well. Well, you know. Suddenly Michelle straightened a bit and looked at her two friends. Do either of you have pen or paper on you? At their shaking heads, she turned towards Harry and frowned. How about you? Confused, Harry gestured at the office. Yeah, I got add a pen and bit. Yeah, I've got a pad of paper and a pen just in case. But why? Michelle just walked past him before he shared a glance with their two friends and then opened the door for them. They followed him to the office and all three raised their eyebrows at Michelle writing something. What are you doing? As she blinked, Michelle looked at him. I'm writing down some contact information for you. Eyes raised eyebrow, she shrugged and smiled. I wasn't kidding when I said we were friends now. By the way, am I writing down yours? Still confused, Harry did, and eventually handed her a sheet after she gave him one. Here, just to let you know though, I go to a private school up in the Highlands for most of the year, and it's kind of hard to get post up there. Erica straightened a bit and turned towards him. Wait, this wouldn't be a school for, unit children and teens, was it? When he slowly nodded and gave her a wary look, she smiled. My cousin who lives with me at the moment goes there. Her parents left on a multi-year cruise just last year, and she's staying with me until we get back. Humming, Harry nodded before he shrugged. Okay. The other two women shared confused looks Erica gently took them and guided them out. Anyway, Michelle will see you later, kitty. Once the three were outside and headed towards the car, Michelle gave her a glare. What was that all about? Is it really the same school that Sally goes to? With a smile, Erica nodded. It is. After she trailed off, though, she gave her friend a look that made her feel like a mouse before a cat. So then, got yourself a nice boyfriend and you one there, eh? I made her sound Canadian there, but oh well. She could only laugh as Michelle spluttered indignantly, while Lisa also started asking for details. Getting out of the car, Remus looked himself over and sighed. It's a good thing that Molly knows how to repair clothing. I wasn't sure if these old things would be repairable. The driver's door opened, and a woman that some witches might have mistaken for Bellatrix stepped out, if not for the fact that she had softer features and brown eyes. Said woman was dressed in a business suit and gave Remus a once over. I think that's the last time I saw you. I think that the last time I saw you wear those was just before Lily and James went into hiding. A sigh escaped him before he ran a hand through his hair. Yeah, we all got together for Lily and James' anniversary at a local restaurant, seeing as things were too dangerous in the wizarding world at the time. Slowly, a frown crossed his face as he examined them. Lily brought them for me, actually. I had a rather bad big fight with her over it, if I remember correctly. Having felt a hand clasp his shoulder, he turned and saw Emma. Hold on, I got her name. I'm gonna get her name. Andromeda, giving him a soft smile. Lily would be happy that you did, especially with the reason why. Seeing his surprise, she laughed. I was wondering why Sirius wanted my help in buying this place for Harry, especially after I did some digging through its rather dark past. Finally dragged it out of my daughter. I'm just gonna call her Andy because it's just easier because I can't say her name all the time. Andy laughed a little louder. Well, after about half an hour, her cursing and swearing about how Harry was a little asshole, something I think I should encourage. Shaking his head, Remus sighed. He's definitely Lily's son, that's for sure. Hell, the whole thing is something that she would have pulled on us if she had the chance and thought of it. It was then that he spied someone walking out of Freddy's and had to blink. Susan? Susan Bones? Is that you? If anything, she seemed more surprised to see her former professor there. Hester Lupin, what are you doing here? The wolf shared a look with Andy before he smiled back at her. I'm no longer your professor, Miss Bones. As for why I'm here, I have some business to take care of for someone. Susan looked at who was accompanying him, and her eyes widened, though she heard his next question. And he's you? Shaking off her surprise at seeing one of few soldiers that her aunt spoke of with respect, Susan blushed some. Um, I actually work here as one of the waitresses. Auntie thought I should have a job somewhere, but rather than have me get one from just a bird's name, we went muggle. Get in touch with my mother's roots and all, you know? Chuckling, Remus nodded with a smile. I understand. He then mused a bit to himself. That's two Hogwarts students working here. Surprised, Susan readjusted her bag and looked at him intently. The second? Who's the first? When he frowned, she rolled her eyes. I'm pretty sure that I would have recognized someone else from Hogwarts here, you know? For a few moments, Remus considered not telling her, before he shrugged, as he figured that she would just do some research and find out anyhow. It's Harry. He works here as night watchman. As her eyes bugged out, Susan spluttered. Harry? Are you telling me that Harry Potter is the Invincible Guardsman? Having spotted the amused look, she blessed him. What? That's what all they call him, you know. Since he's the longest lasting night watchman in the history of the place. For a moment she crunched her nose in confusion. Still don't understand what they mean when they say he's a badass, though. No one wants to say why. Once more, Remus and Andy shared a look before the witch smiled. No doubt. She then gently guided Remus past Susan and Freddie. I'm sorry to cut this short, but we have a meeting that we can't be late for. Please say hello to your aunt for me, would you? And before Susan could say anything, they were inside the pizzeria and out of sight. With her raised eyebrows, Remus looked at his companion. That was rather rude. All the former black did was snort. She understands, especially with the way that you two were gossiping like two old ladies. She ignored the werewolf's splutters as she continued to walk down the hall, her eyes taking in every detail. Are you sure those friends of yours can fix this place up? Having stopped spluttering, Remus sighed as he looked around. They're a good crew, got a lot of experience in constructions and various things. It's just hard for them to find work when they have to take one day a month. Besides, they'll be rather thankful for having long-term work and good pay. It was then that Andy, I was about to call her full name again, but it's Andy. We're calling her Andy because it's so easier to call her that. Andy noticed the animatronics on the stage. My word, is that them? When Remus replied that it was only some, she shook her head. I'm still having trouble believing that what Nymphadora told me about them. Wow, I can say Tonks's full name, but I can't say her mother's name. Okay. And I come from one of the darkest families in Britain. Watching the animatronics Remus slowly nodded. Of course they had noticed him, and Chica was freaking out inside her head. Oh dear. Chica. Eek! The pervert is back. Oh no, oh no. He's staring at me. Why is he staring at me? Is he imagining me without my bib? Or internally she gasps. He's imagining me without my suits. Oh, Chica, no, no. Chica blinked, and if she could have, she would have sniffled. Oh, I wish that Harry was here. He's okay. They spelled that wrong. He'd protect me. Not too long after, much to her relief, Remus and the unknown woman met with the manager and owner before they went to his office. Sighing, Harry leaned back into his chair and hummed to himself. So, you overheard Hermione and Ron talking about coming here and talking with me? Remus shrugged as he watched Harry spin around in his chair, having taken guard duty before Harry that night. Hermione especially seemed to be rather broken up over what happened and wants to make amends with you. He could hear that Harry was still humming to himself. So, what are you going to do? Okay, what's with that smirk on your face? With the raised eyebrows, Harry stopped his knitting. What smirk? Morrill just pointed at Harry's face with one finger. That smirk on your face? It reminds me so much about. It was cut off by Harry, who gave a roll of his eyes. Let me guess. It reminds you of my father when he was about to board for a prank of some such thing. Harry's surprised, though. Harry shook his head and shuddered. Nope. That smirk is exactly the one when they was planning something as payback. Trust me, it was never a good thing to be on the other end of it. For a moment, Harry blinked before a smile crossed his face. Thanks. Anyway, want to give me a hand, Moody? A grin answered him before he reached behind the desk and pulled out something that he tossed to Remus, who caught it. The wizard blinked as he turned it over in his hands. Put that on. As he turned over in his hands, Remus blinked. What the heck? This looks like Foxy's face. Harry just nodded as he continued to walk, a funny mask in one hand. Yeah, we're going to need them. Trust me on that. Before we do anything, though, he poked his head into the main party room. Hey, Freddy, Bunny, mind giving me a hand with something? After the two animatronics looked at each other, they shrugged and followed Harry as he walked towards the door. Frowning, Moody glanced at them and then back at Harry. Mind explaining to an old wolf why we need them? Or what's with the masks? However, his answer came from none other than Freddy himself, who slowly nodded. We're heading down into the basement, aren't we? Confused, Remus looked between the three as they reached a door that had a large steel bar across it and was locked in place. Okay, what's the deal with the basement, and why do we need these? And why the hell is it that secured? A sigh escaped Harry as he brought out his keys and began to unlock the various locks. The basement is where a bunch of old animatronics, not possessed one, from the old place are stored as a source of spare parts for Freddy and the others. There's also some old costumes, which I want one for certain reasons, due to them having free roam as well. Masked works by tricking them to what? The masks work by tricking them to think that we're in a costume except for Mangle, which is where Freddy and Bunny come in. The large rabbit just nods. Sorry, the large rabbit animatronic just nods. Our job is basically to back you up and keep Mangle off you. I don't expect much trouble though. Finally finishing with unlocking the door, Harry opened it. Well, mask on. Both him and Remus put on the mask before they slowly walked down the stairs. While reaching the bottom, though, Remus could see a shambling shape wandering around before Harry turned on the flashlight and revealed that it looked like a beaten up and slightly run down Chica. It's the toys! Anyway, then he noticed that instead of the feather felt that Chica had, its skin was composed of hard plastic. Though some was missing in places, as well as the beak not being on her face, leaving an open mouth and a creepy smile. However, there's something else that caught his attention. Is she wearing panties? From above, a voice shouted down that caused Remus to flinch as he recognized it as Chica. Stop perving on my little sister! With a sigh, Remus glanced back at the door. I wish that I knew why she called me a pervert. Now bored, the Chica wandered off as Harry walked through the stacks of boxes and the like. Where is it? Where the bloody hell is it? Suddenly, a voice piped up. Hello! The group turned to see what looked like what's that word? Carcatoo? I think that's how you say that? I don't know. Of a little round boy with a beanie hat. Of course, the fact that half his face was ripped off to reveal the metal endoskeleton face underneath caused him to grimace at the creepiness. Ah. Bonnie just blinked before one arm swung up and smacked the floor into a bunch of boxes before he turned to Freddy. Guess that Maggle's found us. I'll take care of her. Oh, I thought he hit Balloon Boy, but no, he just smacked Mangled. I thought he was just gonna just punch him because Balloon Boy's a punching bag, isn't he? Anyway, as he wandered off to where the blur had landed, he returned back to the boxes. Anyway, I swear that I saw it around here somewhere. Finally, he spied what he was looking for. There it is! Hey, Freddy, mind helping me with this box? While he rubbed his jaw, Freddy thought it over, for he walked over it and grabbed it. Sure. He easily lifted the box up and started carrying it towards the stairwell. Hey, Bonnie, we're running out. Time to stop playing. A grunt sounded before Bonnie rolled into view with what looked like a broken up white version of Foxy somehow wrapped around you. Screw you, Freddy! To his annoyance, they just stepped around him and started to make their way out the basement. Never mind. Screw each and every one of you. Ow! That was my bully tail, you mutant. Bruce glanced back at him through the mask. Shouldn't we, help him? Both Freddy and Harry stopped, looked at each other before they turned towards the struggling Bonnie, then back to each other. Then they simply shrugged and continued walking. Nah. It was just as they reached the top of the stairs that it winded, though how, no one could figure out. Bonnie caught up with them. I really hate you guys sometimes. As Harry was locking up the basement, the other animatronics came over, with Foxy looking over the box. Now what be this, Mr. Harry? With a smile, Harry gestured for Freddy to open it, and they peered in. It was of course Chica who was the most confused. It looks like a version of me, but colored black instead of yellow. Harry nodded as he placed his hands on his hip. Yeah, someone screwed up an order for you and got the wrong colors, so it's never been used, thankfully. He then tilted his head and grinned back. He then tilted his head back some and grinned at the marauder. So, how good are you with banishing spells? Ooh, it sounds like Harry's got a prank, and I kind of remember what it is. Even though it's been a while, I remember what he's playing. But I want 6. It'll be a surprise from chapter 6. Anyway, that was chapter 5 of Five Nights at Harry's. You can continue reading along if you want to. And of course, you can leave a review and show some love. The downside is this person hasn't updated the fic since 2016, I believe. So I don't know. So this fanfic is kind of incomplete, but it's still enjoyable and fun to read. So anyway, if you like this video, leave a like. Be sure to subscribe for more stuff like this. I upload every Friday, and comment down below if you like this one or if you like unexpected, or if there's any other fanfics you want me to read, and maybe I will. I don't know, but we'll see. So yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys next Friday with a new video.